Hello, I'm Alexia Brooks from Brigham Young University, and I'm majoring in elementary education and minoring in visual arts. I've taken a few painting classes, including watercolors, and that's where I was able to learn a lot of the techniques and figure out what kind of materials are needed for a project like this. We are going to be painting fall leaves today, and I have collected a few different colors and shapes so that we're able to try out a few different techniques. The materials we're going to use today are water in a Tupperware or a cup, paper towels. I have my watercolor palette here with all of the different paints that I typically use underneath it, watercolor paper, and then watercolor paint brushes. The last bit of material is a pencil, and we're going to sketch down this leaf here on the paper. I've already started a little bit of it already, but you're just going to use really light strokes to kind of get the outside of the leaf sketched out. Next thing we're going to do is mix colors. So what I'm going to have you do is take your largest brush, fill it with water, and then just add water to all the colors that you think you're going to be using. Now that each part of the palette is wet that I'm going to be using, I'm going to actually pull paint from there and add it to a section to kind of mix colors together. The first technique that we'll be learning today is wet into wet. First, you're going to add water to your clean brush, and you're going to lay it down within the lines of the leaf that you've put down. Fill up the entire spot, and it can be pretty wet. Now that the entire leaf is wet on the inside, I'm going to pick up some of my color over here, bring it over, and when I put it down, you can see how it spreads. You can fill up as much as you want with this color. If you want some parts to be a little bit darker, like the outside of this leaf seems to have some spots that are darker, you can fill those in. Now I'm just going up to the edges and adding a little bit more color. If you realize that some part is too wet, you can always take a little bit of paper towel and pick up the water here. Or maybe this middle part is too dark, so you just blot it a little bit, and that'll pick up the water. Now that I have layered up all the different wet into wet that I wanted, I've let it dry almost completely, and then I can go back now and add any of the details that won't spread like it was before on to the painting. This is with my finest brush, just really thin, light strokes to kind of add some texture to the top of it. This is completely dry right now. And I'm just going to pick up some color. This is a new leaf as well. I'm going to put down some color here. And it's almost like you have more control over where the paint is, because it's not going to spread like it did on the wet to wet. In our wet onto dry, I've added a couple layers of just more and more dry paint. That's why it kind of looks a little bit choppier. You can kind of see the paint strokes in it, whereas the other one it kind of blended together because it was just wet. So just keep adding layers wherever you feel like you need to with different colors of paint, and it should have a painterly look to it. Now I'm just going through and adding a lot more of those dry swoops through here to add the same kind of texture. Thank you for watching this tutorial on how to use watercolors. I hope you enjoyed learning about the process of wet into wet and wet onto dry watercolors, and that you're able to use these techniques in your future projects.